Saint Augustine commentary on Psalm 119, Tsade. Thus then, as if giving a reason why he had cause to weep much and to mourn deeply for his sin, he says, "Righteous are you, O Lord, and true is your judgment." Verse 137. You have commanded your testimonies, righteousness, and your truth exceedingly. Verse 138. This righteousness of God and righteous judgment and truth is to be feared by every sinner, for thereby all who are condemned of God, nor is there one who can righteously complain against the righteous God of his own damnation. Therefore the tears of the penitent are needful, since if his impenitent heart were condemned, he would be most justly condemned. He indeed calls the testimonies of God righteousness, for he proves himself righteous by giving righteous commandments. And this is truth also, that God may become known by such testimonies. But what is it that follows? My zeal has caused me to pine. Verse 139. Or, as other copies read, your zeal. Others have also the zeal of your house, and has eaten me up, instead of has caused me to pine. This, as it seems to me, has been considered as an emendation to be introduced from another psalm where it is written, "The zeal of your house has eaten me up." Psalm 69 verse 9 and John 2:17. A text quoted also, as we know, in the Gospel. The two words, however, has caused me to pine and has eaten me up, are somewhat like, but the words my zeal, which most of the copies read, occasion no dispute. For what wonder is it if every man pines away from his own zeal? The words read in other copies, your zeal, signify a man zealous for God, not for himself. But there is no difficulty in using my in the same sense. The psalmist's jealousy is therefore also to be understood in a good sense, for he adds the cause and says, "Because mine enemies has forgotten your words." Then, considering with himself with what a flame of love he burned for the commandments of God, fiery, he says, is your word exceedingly, and your servant has loved it. Verse 140. Justly jealous was he of the impenitent heart in his enemies, who had forgotten God's word, for he endeavored to bring them unto that which he himself most ardently loved. I am young and have no reputation, yet do I not forget your righteousnesses, not as my enemies who have forgotten your words. Verse 141. The younger seems to grieve for those older than himself who had forgotten the righteousnesses of God, while he himself had not forgotten. For what does it mean, I am young, yet do I not forget, save this, those older than me have forgotten? For the Greek word is neoteros, the same as that used in the words above, wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way, Psalm 119 verse 9. This is a comparative, and is therefore well understood in its relation to someone older. Let us therefore here recognize the two nations who were striving even in Rebekah's womb, when it was said to her, "Not from works, but of him that calls, the elder shall serve the younger." Genesis chapter 25, verse 22 and 23, and Romans chapter 9, verse 12 and 13. But the younger says here that he is of no reputation. For this reason he has become greater, since, behold, they that were first are last, and they that were last first. Matthew chapter 20, verse 16. It is no wonder that they have forgotten the words of God, who have chosen to set up their own righteousness, ignorant of the righteousness of God. Romans 10:3. But he, the younger, has not forgotten, for he has not wished to have a righteousness of his own, but that of God, of which he now also says, "Your righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and your law is the truth." Verse 142. For how is not the law truth, through which came the knowledge of sin, and that which gives testimony of the righteousness of God? For thus the Apostle says, the righteousness of God is manifested, being witnessed by the law and the prophets. Romans chapter 3, verse 20 and 21. On account of this law, the younger suffered persecution from the elder, so that the younger says what follows, "Trouble and hardship have taken hold upon me, yet is my meditation in your commandments." Verse 143. Let them rage, let them persecute, as long as the commandments of God be not abandoned, and after those commandments, let even those who rage be loved. Your testimonies are righteousness unto everlasting. O grant me understanding, and I shall live. Verse 144. This younger one prays for understanding, which if he had not, he would not be wiser than the aged. Psalm 119, verse 100. But he prays for it in trouble and hardships, for he may thereby understand how contemptible is all that his persecuting enemies can take from him, by whom he says he has been despised. Therefore he has said, "And I shall live," because if trouble and heaviness reach such a pitch that his life should be terminated by the hands of his persecuting enemies, he will live forever, who prefers to temporal things righteousness which remains forevermore. This righteousness in trouble and hardship are the martyria Dei, that is, the testimonies of God, for which martyrs have been crowned.